In today's video, we are going to understand the issues of research related to reliability and validity which crops up and which needs to be addressed in the methodology to not allow any sort of data error later in the stages of research. So it is important that we understand the issue of reliability and validity, because based on how accurate we are choosing our instrument and how accurately we are designing the instrument, it really makes a lot of difference in the quality of research. So what is reliability? Even if you see the word reliability from just a simple English term like reliable, something which is trustworthy, which is believable, so it refers to the extent to which the same answers can be obtained using the same instrument more than one time. So even if you are using the same instrument again and again, a reliable instrument will ensure that the results are always the same. That's what reliability means here, that it is trustworthy, that this instrument is reliable, and that every time we do the research and use this instrument, it will always give the same result. And reliability is a concern every time a single observer is the source of data, because we have no certain guard against the impact of that observer's subjectivity. And reliability issues are most of the time very closely associated with subjectivity, and once a researcher is going to adopt a subjective approach towards the study, then the level of reliability of the work is always going to be compromised. Okay, now what is validity? Validity, even if you try to understand it from the plain English term like valid, as we say, it means that how you are going to say that this instrument is perfect, and that it is that it has a very scientific basis of producing result. So it can be explained as the extent at which requirements of scientific research method, like it has adopted a scientific way of processing in generating the research findings. So what are the ways we can ensure that validity has been included? Like appropriate time scale for the study has to be selected. Appropriate methodology has to be chosen, which takes into account the characteristics of the study. And another way is to ensure that the most suitable sample method for the study has been selected. And the respondents must not be pressured in any ways to select specific choices among the answer set. So it is important to understand that although threats to research reliability and validity can never be totally eliminated, but researchers need to strive to minimize this threat as much as possible. Let's understand research reliability a little bit more in detail. So, reliability refers to whether or not you get the same answer by using an instrument to measure something more than once. In simple terms, research reliability is the degree to which research method produces stable and consistent results. So, whether you are able to generate the same set of results by using the instrument is what is called as research reliability. So, how will you test whether your instrument is reliable enough to conduct a research? So, there are some ways. Here we will discuss those ways to understand how we can test whether our instrument is reliable or not, whether it is capable of producing the same consistent result every time it is being used. So the first one is test, retest reliability. It relates to the measure of reliability which has been obtained by conducting the same test more than one time over a period of time with the participation of the sample group. So, to cite an example, there are employees of a certain company who are asked to complete the same questionnaire about job satisfaction. So, there is a questionnaire about job satisfaction which is given out to employees of a certain company, and this questionnaire will be executed 2 times with an interval of 1 week. So, you give the questionnaire to the sample on 1st of February. Again, you give that same questionnaire on 7th of February. Now, when you compare the test result, it will help you to assess the stability of scores. So there should be not much deviation of the results, whether you give it on the first week or the second week or the fourth week to your employer. The questionnaire should be able to generate the same set of results. So then only we can say that the questionnaire is reliable, it is consistent, it is able to produce the same results which we want. Okay, so this is the first way of measuring the reliability of an instrument. Now the second way to measure your instrument would be parallel forms reliability. It relates to a measure that is obtained by conducting assessment of the same phenomena with the participation of the same sample group via more than one assessment method. So, for example, the same questionnaire we are giving out to the employees of that company, but this time we will assess the job satisfaction level through different methods like questionnaire, in-depth interviews, focus group, and then the results can be compared. So this is parallelly you are using different methods to assess the result. So again, whether we are using the questionnaire during the in-depth interview or during the focus group, that way we are able to understand whether there is any deviation of the of the outcome of the research through these instruments. So that is another way of testing the instrument. And then the third type is inter-rater reliability. As the name indicates, it relates to the measure of set of results obtained by different assessor using the same method. You use the same method. For example, you use the the survey method or the in-depth interview method, but this time there will be different assessor, which means two different people will assess the results. Benefit and importance of assessing the inter-rater reliability, it can be explained by referring to the subjectivity of the assessment. So again, if we use the same example, levels of employee motivation at a XYZ company and can be assessed using, for example, observation method by two different assessors, and inter-reliability relates to the extent of difference between the two assessments. So there shouldn't be a huge difference in the two assessments. There should be some difference because these are two different people assessing the results, but there shouldn't be a very huge difference. So this is another way of testing the results, inter-rater reliability. So these are the three ways of measuring the reliability of the research instrument. Validity refers to how well an instrument is able to measure what it is intended to measure. There is actually a very thin line of difference between reliability and validity. Reliability alone is not enough. Measures need to be reliable as well as valid. For example, if a weight measuring scale is wrong by 4 kgs, which means it will deduct 4 kg of the actual weight, It can be specified as reliable because the scale will display the same weight every time we measure any item. But the scale is not valid because it is not displaying the actual weight of the item. So, validity can be divided into 4 types. Number 1 is face validity. It is the most basic type of validity, and it is associated with a very high level of subjectivity because it is not based on any scientific approach. It's just, as the word intends, face validity. In other words, in this case, a test may be specified as valid by a researcher because it may seem valid without any in-depth scientific justification. It's just like that. For example, there is a questionnaire designed for a study which analyzes the issue of employee performance. It can be assessed as valid because each individual question may seem to be addressing a specific and relevant aspect of employee performance. So it is just considered valid because it is just putting out there all the items which is needed to incorporate in a questionnaire to analyze the issue of employee performance. The second type is construct validity. It relates to the assessment of suitability of measurement tool to measure the phenomenon being studied. Application of construct validity can be effectively facilitated with the involvement of a certain panel of experts who are closely familiar with the measure and the phenomenon. For example, with the application of construct validity, the levels of leadership competency in any given organization can be effectively assessed by devising a questionnaire to be answered by operational level employees and asking questions about the levels of their motivation to do their duties in a daily basis. So that is how the construct validity is. And the third type is criterion related validity. It involves comparison of test results with the outcome. This specific type of validity correlates the results of assessment with another criterion of assessment. For example, the nature of customer perception for a brand image of a specific company can be assessed by organizing a focus group. So you have a focus group where you try to understand the customer perception of a particular product, and you gather the results by organizing that focus group. The same issue can also be assessed through executing a questionnaire to be answered by current and potential customers of the brand. The higher the level of correlation between the results of the focus group and the questionnaire, the high the level of criterion related validity. And the fourth type is formative validity. It refers to the assessment of the effectiveness of the measure in terms of providing information that can be used to improve specific aspects of the phenomenon. For example, when initiatives are being developed to increase the levels of effectiveness of organizational culture, if the measure is able to identify specific weaknesses of the organizational culture, for example, employee manager communication barriers, then the level of formative validity of the measure can be considered as adequate. So these were all the 4 categories of research validity: face validity, construct validity, criterion related validity, and formative validity. So that was all for today's video. See you in the next one.